Hello, Data Fellows. Welcome to the second May Asynchronous session. During today's session, we will be covering tips on how to present difficult data. Our jobs would be a lot easier if data analysis always resulted in good news. However, the reality is that as a data fellow, you're going to have to report out on some findings that may not be positive and may show the need for change or even the discontinuation of a strategy. There isn't necessarily one solution for making this an easy task, but there are tips and methods to assist you in getting stakeholders to listen, learn, and take action from the data. After today's session, our goal is that you will be prepared to facilitate stakeholders' understanding of negative findings in an effort to guide them toward future decisions and actions. In addition, our goal is that you will understand methods to ensure and communicate the integrity of your data work. During our first section today, we'll be discussing tips for facilitating a conversation when findings are not positive. Our first tip is from the outset, position the delivery of your data and findings within a learning context. It's important to present both process and outcome data. As a reminder, process data speaks to implementation, noting whether a strategy was implemented as planned and with fidelity. On the other hand, outcome data speaks to impact and is typically what stakeholders will first want to jump and look at to gauge success. However, you need to emphasize the importance of reviewing both process and outcome data, as you aren't able to attribute positive or negative outcomes without knowing that implementation has actually occurred as planned. Use this time to educate about the importance of examining implementation and highlight the collection of data about program operations. If you observe a lack of positive outcome data, emphasize the importance of reviewing the process data as well. In fact, even if you do observe positive outcome data, it's important to review your process data. If, after reviewing the process data, you find that the strategy was not implemented with fidelity, as an RSSP team, discuss what changes need to occur in order for the initiative to be implemented with fidelity. You cannot and should not jump to the conclusion that the strategy is not effective as it has not been implemented as planned. On the other hand, if you do find that your process data shows that the strategy was implemented with fidelity, it's time for your RSSP team to brainstorm why you may not be seeing the results you expect and actions that you can take to modify the initiative or strategy as needed. The second tip to communicating negative findings is to keep the stakeholders' perspectives in mind. Keep in mind what it's like to be on the other side of the presentation and how it can be difficult to face a lack of success. Reaction can always be for individuals to look for fault or disregard the findings. That's why, while taking into account others' perspectives, it's also important to remember to deliver the information as a learning experience as presented in tip number 1. Remember that all communication should take place with special attention to protecting individuals' dignity while also maintaining data credibility. The third tip is to assist stakeholders in processing negative findings. It's important that as you deliver the data and information, you look at the program or strategy as a whole and refrain from solely focusing on the negative. As a data fellow, you can facilitate a discussion that focuses on understanding how various aspects of an organization and the strategy contribute to both positive and negative outcomes. This will lead to more fruitful discussions and ultimately more realistic solutions. To facilitate this discussion, you can use the data analysis protocol presented in the Making Meaning from Data workbook that's linked in this slide. To use the protocol, Break the RSSP team up into small groups or pairs. Have them review the findings as pairs, working through the protocol, first identifying what they see in the data, then identifying plausible causes that could logically flow from each observation, and lastly, they'll be prompted to identify potential solutions to each plausible cause. This process helps stakeholders see findings in the larger context and allows them to review the findings in detail, capture their reflections, and then share out with the larger group to determine next steps. As a note, the workbook also includes a data interpretation meeting facilitator guide and a template meeting agenda for you to use. Tip number 4 is to present positive findings first. By presenting positive findings first, receptivity to the data and information as a whole may be enhanced. Then, while you discuss the negative findings or areas of improvement, you can refer back to what is being done well and facilitate a discussion around what can be done to build off those positive findings. The last tip is to avoid using the words positive and negative. I do realize that we've used positive and negative throughout this presentation, but when sharing with stakeholders, it's best to refrain from using those words. Instead of using positive, use words and phrases such as accomplishments, celebrations, points of pride, and objectives completed. And instead of negative, use phrases such as objectives still in progress, things to work on, areas needing support, and objectives not yet completed. We're now moving into section 2, where we present different methods for you to ensure and communicate data integrity. This is important to discuss because, as previously mentioned, often when presented with findings that don't point to success, stakeholders will want to question the data. As the data fellow, it's your role to ensure the integrity of your data so that it can withstand questioning. So first, what is data integrity? As stated in this Harvard Business Review article that's linked in the slide deck, data integrity is the accuracy, completeness, and quality of data as it's maintained over time and across formats. Preserving the integrity of a company's data is a constant process. This is incredibly important if you're not the only person handling data at your organization, which is true when working in a district. You need to educate others about the need to protect data accuracy, completeness, and quality, and communicate methods for how you do so as a data fellow. As stated in the article, when everyone understands the importance of data integrity, you can work together to maintain it for the greater good. The first method to support data integrity is to begin your work with the end in mind by defining your essential questions. As stated in an article by Scholar Chip, all data collected must have a purpose. What questions need to be answered? And what data is required to answer those questions? Rather than navigating multiple data sources to answer your questions, start by creating a measurement plan up front to link each research question with a data source. As a reminder, a measurement plan outlines each goal or research question, the type of goal it is, what data sources will be used to progress monitor, what specific measures will be used from that data source, and then the specific level of detail that you will look at. Again, identifying this upfront with your stakeholders involved will ensure that each data point you collect has a clear purpose and will speak to whether an objective was met or not met. The second method to support data integrity is to involve stakeholders in data collection and analysis and maintain communication throughout the process. Stakeholders will be much more likely to accept difficult feedback if they have been involved and are aware of the data work that has been completed. As mentioned on the previous slide, this can entail involving stakeholders in the creation of the measurement plan. Ownership in this process builds their belief in the data's validity and the credibility of the findings. it's also important to create and follow a feedback and communication plan to ensure stakeholders are aware of the logistics of data collection, analysis, and have time to provide feedback throughout. This also assists by ensuring stakeholders are not surprised by findings, as they should have an idea of what will be presented. The third method to support data integrity is to verify and document the manner of data collection. Standardized definitions and formats are critical to ensuring consistent data collection and analysis. Imagine, for example, one person records attendance data with a 1 indicating absence and 2 indicating presence, while another enters 0 indicating absence and 1 indicating presence. This will seriously impact the analysis and what attendance data will look like. It is so important to document these data entry and cleaning steps so that they are consistently applied by yourself as a data fellow, as well as others who may be assisting in data work. Two tools that we've previously discussed that you can use to build data integrity are a data inventory and a data dictionary. A data inventory is a single location to document what data are available across your campus or district. This includes a description of each data source, how each is collected, how it's used, and where to access it. It's a crucial starting point in gauging what data are available to build a dashboard or speak to whether success has been met. This also helps build a data culture. A data dictionary is a centralized document for a project or data set that includes for each variable the data type, definition, possible values, and handling of missing data. It's important to reference this when cleaning your data and understanding how data sets can connect to each other when building a dashboard or visual. The fourth method to ensure data integrity is to clean your data. This shouldn't be a surprise, as the importance of cleaning your data has been emphasized throughout this program. But it really is so important. This is because inaccurate and unreliable data lead to spurious or wrong conclusions. If you inadvertently input an error, an output still comes out, it's just not valid. Keeping data clean requires catching and correcting errors early on and consistently. Use the data cleaning checklist to ensure that all your data is properly prepared for analysis and will therefore result in accurate findings. The checklist provides an overview of the steps to take when cleaning a data set. The final method we're sharing to ensure data integrity is to triangulate your data. Triangulation is one of the well-known research tools that social science researchers use to verify data accuracy. As the word suggests, it refers to the application of 3 approaches or methods to verify findings. This idea works just like a global positioning system, or GPS, where you need at least 3 satellites to tell your exact location. In our terms, this involves not solely relying on one data source, such as STAR assessment results, but also reviewing observation data and survey data, as well as reporting out on your findings. That concludes today's session on how to communicate negative findings. Please complete the exit ticket linked in the slide deck so that we can document that you completed today's session. This also provides us with important feedback. Thank you.